Okinawa would be the last of the island hopping campaigns to take place in the Pacific. The purpose of Operation Iceberg was to take Okinawa, and it would then serve as a staging area for the coming invasion of mainland Japan. The invasion would begin on Easter Sunday, April 1st, 1945. It was a joint operation that included both the United States Army and the United States Marine Corps. Once our troops began to land on the island, they experienced very little opposition from the Japanese. The Japanese had another plan. That was to allow the Americans to land on the beach, and as they began to move inland there on Okinawa, that's where they would encounter stiff, heavy enemy resistance, especially on the southern end of the island. The Japanese would make use of the terrain. And from these heavily fortified positions, a slugfest would develop between American and Japanese forces. The battle would last for a total of 82 days. And at the conclusion of the battle, Okinawa would become known as the bloodiest battle of the war in the Pacific. 38,000 Americans were wounded. 12,000 of those were killed in action. On the enemy side, they lost over 100,000 troops, and the civilian population on the island lost another 100,000. Another part of the Japanese plan at Okinawa was to launch wave after wave of kamikaze planes against the United States Navy based off the coast of Okinawa. During the course of these kamikaze attacks, they sank 36 ships, they damaged another 368, over 700 American airplanes were destroyed, and 5,000 sailors lost their lives, more than twice the number that we lost at Pearl Harbor. In our Okinawa exhibit, we have a number of items on display, including a uniform worn by United States Marine Corporal Eugene Sledge, who fought on both Peleliu and Okinawa. He referred to this uniform that we have on display here as his lucky uniform, because he was one of the few men in his unit that was never wounded. He would survive the war, he would come home. He would become an author. One of his books was entitled With the Old Breed on Peleliu and Okinawa. At our Pacific Combat Zone, we have engraved on the wall a quote by Eugene Sledge that reads, "Until the millennium arrives and countries cease trying to enslave others, it will be necessary to accept one's responsibilities and be willing to make sacrifices for one's country, as my comrades did. As the troops used to say, if the country is good enough to live in, it's good enough to fight for. With privilege goes responsibility." We also have a combat information center very similar than what would have been on the USS Hanley. That ship was off the coast of Okinawa, providing an early warning and trying to intercept kamikaze planes that were attempting to attack the United States Naval Fleet. During a course of 1 hour and 40 minutes, the USS Hanley shot down 23 Japanese kamikazes. Iwo Jima and Okinawa were a preview of what was to happen if America had to invade mainland Japan. It was estimated that America would experience over 1 million casualties. The Japanese would lose 2 million or more. But America was working on a new weapon, a weapon that could destroy the world. In April of 1945, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt passed away. His vice president, Harry S. Truman, assumed the role of president. And shortly after being sworn in, for the first time, Truman would learn about this new secret weapon that the United States was developing. That weapon would be the atomic bomb. As we're nearing the end of the war, at the Potsdam Conference, the United States informed the Allies of this new weapon and also let the Japanese know that if they did not surrender, they would be completely and utterly destroyed. It would be President Truman who would have to make the decision to use the bomb. On August the 6th, 1945, a B-29 named the Enola Gay would drop the first atomic bomb named Little Boy on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. 80,000 people would be killed instantly in that attack. The Japanese still refused to surrender. 3 days later, a second atomic bomb, this one named Fat Man, was dropped on Nagasaki, killing an estimated 40,000 people. And on August the 14th, 1945, the Japanese surrendered, ending World War II. And on September the 2nd, 1945, Admiral Chester Nimitz would accept the unconditional surrender of the Japanese on board the USS Missouri on behalf of the United States. In our exhibit entitled "A Terrible New Weapon," we have on display a casing of an atomic bomb identical of that of Fat Man, the atomic bomb that was dropped on Nagasaki.